Victor, but I really hope not. This gives you a lot of strong front line here and decent peel into the Gwen and the Poppy that come through, and a lot of side lane pressure. If we remove the nameplates, like, I have to say I'm leaning towards Kwangdong's draft here. But
yeah, I also do like the fact that there's Crescent Guard and there's Flay to deny the Azir from potential engagements. As here we are, onto the Rift for game number 1 of week 3. After this week, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a slight break. It's Sona or Lunar New Year here in Korea, which is a national holiday.
Yes, that's
so
a good
we're
point.
Be taking a bit of time off as in goes Lehens, finds himself a ward, and Quantum Freaks get a lot of information. Hoyt now with the ability to head on in here.
And that's part of why Zeri will be playable in week 4, because it'll be an extra week between as well. So it's really 2 weeks of break for the players to prepare and get ready for that. Although I hope they do get some time to spend with their families and whatnot during that break as well.
Yeah, exactly. Always a very, very family-based time here in Korea.
So the other part about this draft for Kwangdong, and I know I'm going to sound like a broken record on this best of 3, but I'm very upset with how Kwangdong's been playing the late game. I think this comp does require a certain amount of side lane pressure with that Rise. Otherwise, you will just fall behind. You know, the Azir can split push too pretty decently, especially with this comp. And then Gwen is going to be side laning. So as Kwangdong, you really do need to have good setup vision for objective fights, because Azir can actually just win you a fight straight up before it even starts here if you mess up how your engage goes.
This is also a difficult time as Kane walks back to the minions. Does have that ward in there, so Doran's not able to reset creep aggro, but should otherwise be okay. Getting some snips in here though as he dashes around. Obviously not snipping just yet because he needs level 2 before that actually does happen.
18 games of Rise here for Keen's. Lived through a few top Rise metas.
Yep.
Definitely experienced on it, more than Dove.
Has been one of his better picks in the past, but that was in a time where Rise was a little bit different. As Doran going for it, looking for that level 2 opportunity as minions die, but instead just going to try and chase Keen down.
Pretty impressive.
Get that level 2, as you can see. As yeah, Keen running forward, phase rush, going to be able to get the dash out there from Doran, who does just have this Doran shield, and that level 2 battle has been hit. And as I was talking about it, there were way too many minions alive, so I don't think Doran was ever going to passively get that level 2. So
yeah,
it was just very aggressive.
He really just wants to get a very aggressive lead here in this lane because it's very difficult to play out as Gwen, as LM will come through here unseen.
Yeah, Peanut. Don't know whether he has Steadfast Presence available just yet. Wind becomes Lightning as LM. I don't think he's going to stick around. I don't think he feels powerful enough to really fight this one out. There's the Flash. Does manage to get that heroic charge into the wall. Flash comes out from LM as well. He charges in on top of Doran. The Flash comes through though, and they successfully bait it. Peanut picks up first blood, and GENG will be successful. Yes, they lose the Flash on top lane though.
This is Peanut with Chovy on a good team where everyone is working together. You step over the line just one moment. Just one overextension here as LM, and then he's got the charge into the wall. Flashes for it because he's running Hex Flash on Poppy, as you do, so not even really a heavy investment play. Jovi's there, he's coming up, and then Doran is able to flash out. He took Flash here into this matchup. You generally do on the Gwen. So well coordinated, so well played. It's a great punish play here, and what was a very high-risk, low-reward play from LM ends up being a ton of extra gold going over to GENG early. As it looks like, okay, I'm backing out here. He's communicating to his teammates what's going on. Doran's coming down. And in this choke, you have this opportunity as Poppy to look for the charge into the wall. Jinzhao flashes up to try to go into the trade into Gwen. It's just not going to happen. Rise rotating down very slow as well, just not realizing that there was missing mid. And the communication issue you talked about before the game even started, like, as Keen, you've got to be coming down there if you think there's going to be a fight. And guess who was missing mid? Chovy was missing mid. You've got to be looking for those plays. LM should be calling out, like, guys, I need help. I'm in trouble.
Yeah, but I mean, I want to go back to the fact that Chovy was in the river. It's the early laning phase.
Yeah, that's
Chovy actually moved out of mid lane, Wolf.
Yeah.
You missed the hugest point about this because everyone has been talking for so long that Chovy has often just left these skirmishes, prioritized getting that farm for himself, but he was in that lane. He was able to help pick up that kill for Peanut. And this is an absolutely huge deal for GENG, and I think this matters so much moving forward. The fact that you do have GENG now with this mid laner that on Halma Life last year was definitely playing a lot for himself
Yeah.
in that laning phase.
I think part of it is because he trusts Peanut in a way he couldn't trust Johan last year or Willer in the later parts. Like, he knows that Peanut will make a play for him, so when he calls, he trusts, he goes. Like, the ability to leave lane, you know, as the Azir in the early part of this matchup gives you a lot of agency, but the reward for making a play like this is so high that it's just absolutely worth it. This has been something that we've talked about a lot. The first pick of Felios really struggling into a lot of matchups. The Jinx is the big one. 1 and 5.
Peanut is absolutely abusing Hex Flash right now, by the way. As look at this rotation. Who is LM ganking?
Peanut's like, who says Poppy can't go over walls?
Well, they've spotted someone in there, so it's not fully invisible as LM's going to face check. And I think they're still waiting. Yep, there we go. There's the dredge line. Hook is going to connect, but it's just disengaged. LM takes a lot of damage. Ignite goes down. And Lehens does have to use his flash to make this one happen. Chovy getting a lot of damage onto Fate in the mid lane as well. Definitely cute. Bit of a cunning ruse there. However, not too much going to come from it.
Gonna keep LM down here to babysit a little bit. Stays a little bit longer here. I think that, you know, bot lit duo here for GENG, very much aware of it. It was a small opportunity there had he gone back to look for an early Drake, but they all stay. Didn't take too much damage. Teddy there in the bottom lane, you know, was ignited, but is actually, you know, healthy enough to stay and continue the push. As Chovy is just, yeah.
He's Chovying really hard.
He really is.
Roams out is still Chovy, as it turns out. Still just playing very, very well. Does have a slight advantage there in that mid lane, but managed to make sure that Fate stuck around underneath that turret with that health disadvantage, and so we should be able to keep up a lot of this mid pressure as the game continues. Keen, not a lot of mana there towards the top side, but will continue to really get a big advantage. As there's Emperor's Divide, that's going to say goodbye to Ellen. He doesn't manage to land, the wind becomes lightning, and therefore Chovy's like, well, you can have my R button.
He's also level 4, and Chovy's level 7. He had no flash. It's coming up in just a few seconds, so very ill-fated to start there, and he's just actually going to help push this wave in here for Fate, who's very low.
Yep.
But this means that in the interim, Peanut's going to be able to get this Drake because the bot duo is gone. They backed, so they can just rotate over here and help out with that extra prio in mid. That Chovy kind of guaranteed it. Pushed LM into the mid lane instead of coming down here to check for this. They have no warding. They have no vision because he felt like, I've got to help Fate get this last wave of minions so he can actually back and buy items. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place here.
And it's all down to the fact that Chovy had put on what we were talking about before,
yes,
all of that pressure into the mid lane to allow this to all happen. So working like a bit of a well-oiled machine here for GENG. But let's see whether some of the confidence issues that we spotted in their series against Halma Life is going to come back, because that is something that Condom Freaks can capitalize on. And as you can see on the top side, 20 CS advantage for Keen. His Rise is very powerful. As Condom Freaks actually going to be respecting Poppy a lot here as Peanut just smacks this this Rune Sentinel into the wall.
Yeah, he had a, you know, the early game for the Gwen is going to be miserable in this matchup, but also, you know, Doran was trying to get an early lead and then kind of botched it and fell behind in lane, and now he's kind of been up here attentionless because Poppy, and Peanut in this case, Poppy is kind of going elsewhere, trying to deal with Elim and trying to put Elim down, and which is working incredibly well for them. So small sacrifice here for the Gwen, who will just do Gwen things later on anyways. So I think as GENG, you're pretty happy with the one hole in your early laning phase being the top lane.
Well, Peanut now able to wrap around. They have full vision of what's happening here with the Gromp being taken by the Jinx. And Doran's going to make his way back here towards that top side. Very interested to see what Peanut is actually going to be able to get done, but looks like Keen should be able to grab himself a second plate towards that top side. That's a Rift Herald worth of gold there going over to the Rise. Not quite able to equalize the gold just yet, though, as LM spotting out some vision here as Peanut wants to be able to smite this way and does so. So the Poppy is just running the jungle right now. Honestly, LM is just getting ran around. It's an 18 CS advantage. It's like 4.5 camps or something like that here for Peanut. Yeah, he's having a whale of a time.
It's Poppy, too. It's not like we're talking about one of the fastest.
Yeah, the power farmer Poppy.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's not even a real, yeah, it's not actually a power farm champion who can actually rush through the jungle and speedrun it. One of the slower clears right now in this meta, as they have the fast track to this Herald. Question is, can they hold on to it?
I don't think so. This mid lane in control by GENG. They get to slink into this river. And LM's going to move on over, but Emperor's Divide is set up. Chovy has the ability to get on in there as it's a fair bit of damage, but Elm gonna have to get out immediately. Doran grabs that kill as Keen's trying to take him down, and he will do so. Lahen's gonna have to bail from the area as Ruler now red-white. Do not fight Kwangdong Freaks as the ulti comes through from Peanut, and he's trying to defend this Eye of the Herald that was successfully stolen there by Elm.
Yeah, this is actually best case scenario for Kwangdong Freeks, honestly, considering how they had to approach that fight. The really nice engage there from Lahen's. Didn't even have to use flash for it. And still, they're able to steal this one away, which is pretty massive. They're not able to secure the Eye, but they can at least win this fight. Because if you look at how this fight starts, how quickly this disaster occurs for Kwangdong Freeks.
The fact wasn't even Ellen. It was Teddy that managed to secure it. Yeah. I take it all back.
Yeah,
sorry.
It was. I think you said Teddy stole it. I think you called it out, right?
I don't know. I can't. It was too long ago.
But you know, the steal is good, and this means that Kwangdong Freeks' big rotation over here is not all for naught. Because if they don't get that, it feels terrible for how many resources they expended to actually look for the play.
Yeah. Nicely done there from Kwangdong Freeks, just to deny it. However, GENG will retain their advantage. And if we have a look at scaling and things like that, I mean, GENG are just in a phenomenal spot, no matter what happens, right? I mean, yes, you can talk about Victor and Jinx things, but I mean, this is still Aphelios. Poppy is full of utility. Doran in the side lane should be unanswerable, even if right now it is looking very rough. And yes, Ryze is okay, but with his very tanky builds, he's not going to be able to threaten the Gwen in the later stages of the game, especially without any heal deny in the build. So
yeah, that was something
tough.
I wanted to bring up too, because looking at the comp here for GENG, I almost wonder if Ryze might be better suited to build something a little bit more damaging in this game, and he's gone for the Everfrost start. Doesn't mean he won't necessarily end up going into like a Void Staff, because there's a lot of magic resistance on GENG. Both of these teams having the double AP in the top and mid lane, so
yep,
a lot of magic resistance being built, and I don't think as Kwangdong in this case is keen on the Ryze, you necessarily want to go full tank actually into what GENG are running. You don't need to be a frontline tank per se. I think you need more damage if you're going to win out, especially because you already have two late game scaling damage dealers. Like on one hand, maybe if the Ryze is tankier, they could do their job, but with the Everfrost alone, like, I think you kind of could do it, you know? I mean, you have the box to be placed for Hoyt, et cetera, to make sure you can actually do that safe damage. I think he probably, you know, feels differently based on the fact that he's got a tier in his inventory already, but...
Yeah, I mean, that could still be a Seraph's, you know? But I think actually the Gwen is in a really great spot, given the fact that the itemization is so awkward. Because if you build a Morellonomicon, you're feeling awful as the Ryze, right? Like, that is not the way you want to make it work. Good stun there onto Teddy in the backline, but the Chompers stop Lahen's from going forward. Doran trying to push Keen out, and the health advantage is actually important, because Keen has teleport, and Doran does not. However, Kwangdong Freeks moving themselves back here towards the lane, and Ruler was looking for that one last Calibrum Q to try and lock down Teddy as he makes his way in here. Fake gonna eat some honey fruit. Peanut trying to make this a 50-50, but the Drake does go down. There's the flash forward. Heroic Charge comes out, but Hoyt goes golden immediately. Flame Chompers are decent, but it looks like this is the threat going down. Can they find more, though, as that's the double for Chovy. Emperor's Divide delivers fate, and they want to be able to take down Ruler. Lahen's goes gold, and he will be the sacrificial lamb. But Doran grabbing plates towards the top side in the last 30 seconds, and Chovy gets the double in trade for the Dragon.
Dragon trade here, but the plate's going down the top side of the map. The teleport burned for Keen, who's kind of in this awkward spot now. He has to slowly go back to the top side of the map. A lot of lost minions here. I mean, not a massive amount, but a decent amount, which is going to help clear up this discrepancy in terms of the CS right now here. As Doran handles this very well. Like you said, trades aggressively onto Keen, which means he has to back before he teleports. And he teleports into the bottom side of the map. Comes in so late, isn't really a part of the fight. So, you know, the amount of value that this Gwen is going to get, this Doran at the top of the map, is quite high. As look at the Poppy ultimate here, just a little bit mistimed in order to stop that smite from going in. But Hoyt, up at the front, you can see as he's stopwatching, he's trying to buy time for that teleporting Ryze, but Keen is so far away from the fight, has to Realm Warp in, and then finally do that damage. If he is here earlier, if he does have higher health, going back to the point you mentioned, then this fight looks very different. I think it might be extremely one-sided for Kwangdong Freeks, but he had to back first, had to take that safe teleport, so it's being a fairly even trade across.
Yeah. Definitely the benefactor, though, is the fact that Teddy, able to grab himself a kill, continues to have that 20-odd CS advantage as LM now looking to dive Ruler. Ruler does have heal, but does not have flash. Severum's there, though. Super Mega Death Rocket is just going to sail around Runeterra perpetually for the rest of its existence until it may run out of fuel or something like that.
It's part of the space junk now that
it is, definitely.
About.
We don't even know what inertia is like, what physics does in Runeterra, to be perfectly honest. I mean, we saw what happened when Delight went up into the stratosphere and then floated down. I think gravity is very different, so you know, it's very hard to know what's going to happen to that rocket.
You know, Atlas, we've hit the 15-minute mark, and I'm starting to see a little bit of the KRAM freak symptoms coming through a little bit here. Now, they were able to group up and get a turret, so successful objective take. But meanwhile, you know, Doran is running free here on the top side of the map for now, and then Chovy is free hitting a mid-turret. It's getting very low, will be under threat of death soon. They have a lot of control of vision on the top side of the map, so can easily make their own big play top, and that's why Hoyt is up there right now. He has to bodyguard.
Chovy gonna look for it. Goodbye, Teddy. That's the heroic charge into the line of soldiers. LM's going to find Chovy, though, so they make it a 1-for-1. As let's see whether they manage to get this turret. Ruler able to do so, and now LM, nothing he can do. So a turret and a Fed Jinx in trade for Chovy. You'd probably take that.
Yeah. The other scary part about this was that, you know, Hoyt went up top because he was worried they were going to make the same play onto Keen, and they still can. This is what happens when you don't have any vision on the top of your jungle as Kwangdong Freaks. GENG can literally run up here, take your jungle away, collapse on top of your Ryze on the top, and there's just nothing that you could do if you can't react. And they were nervous about that's why they put Hoyt up there. And luckily for Keen, he's just going to push his way out of it. He's just going to run so far forward, he's safe, and they won't be able to get anything else. But you've got to be really careful about this vision. They are going to go over and clear it away now. But, I mean, look at the lack of vision in their own jungle here for Kwangdong Freaks. Even though Hoyt went up there, he didn't really replace any of that important vision. You could see it up here in the top when this engage comes through from Chovy. They're like, they're either going to try to kill Keen or they're going to try to kill Teddy here. And so LM was in the right spot, was able to trade this back.
And Chovy didn't have a stopwatch available or anything like that, and so had to use Splash to get out, and LM was in the right place at the right time. So kudos to him. I like taking the no variance play as well on GENG's side, just stealing away the red buff instead of trying to gank the Ryze, where they could have been a little bit more help there for him, things like that. You may as well instead just get the money that is there on the map. But they weren't able to get the Rift Herald, and this will go over to Kwangdong Freaks after that reset and after Teddy does come back. Doran gets that tower on the bottom side, and GENG continue to try to extend this lead that is not really at a massive state just yet. But still, a few little advantages here, and when it comes to the KRAM, having Shirley there is definitely going to benefit them, right?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's also, we've gotten to a game state for Kwangdong Freaks where they're not too far behind, and they can still team fight. They're pretty well set up to just kind of play that KRAM style if they want to, and then they'll still be relevant around team fights. If they can get the Ryze to actually get some significant side laning done and actually then set up for some objectives, then 4-1ing here works out very well for Kwangdong Freaks in this composition, especially because Ryze can help shut down this Gwen. And when they're obviously in a 1v1 here like this, you know, things can be very dicey. But here's the teleport, and they're just going to commit hard to the Drake. Kwangdong a little bit late to the party.
Yeah, you can see Chovy able to set up the soldiers, get things ready in case they want to come through. So GENG will be able to get this for themselves, but like we were saying, Shirley in trade will be able to really do some damage to this tower. And with Teddy available as well, it should just be gone as GENG is still rotating over. Yep, goodbye turret. Doran into the mist is going to be safe for the minute, but Shirley will get taken down before the second charge. Is going to be the second Drake for GENG in trade for that tower. So I think it's actually okay for Kwangdong Freaks.
Yeah, no, it's actually pretty good for them, especially considering that it's an Ocean Soul. So in this particular game, it's going to be useful, but it's not the, you know, end-all be-all. We don't have the Chemtech anymore, so that one is never the one you're worried about. But Infernal or Mountain could be massive in this scenario. And again, significant, but getting that permanent turret damage there in the mid lane does open up the map for Kwangdong quite a bit.
Yeah, certainly good news. 2 turrets to 3, so Kwangdong certainly able to get around and knock these things down as Chovy sets up the defense soldier. And will probably be able to knock this down. No, not quite. Sitting on a bit of a Giant's belt here, which is pretty cute.
Yeah.
Chovy with one of those.
Double masking it up.
Yep, double mask, as well as having that Oblivion Orb just sitting in the back, just to allow him a bit of that heal deny.
Yeah, he's kind of got this awkward build because the Oblivion Orb is really nice for heal deny, but, you know, with the cost of that plus everything else you're trying to build, you don't have that second item yet, but he will very shortly.
But can hold up his pants, and that's important.
Yes, that's also huge.
He's got the stick in case he wants to do any mountaineering, and then also doesn't have to deal with climbing that mountain and having his pants fall down. And as a Pigeon Man, I think it's definitely very, very valuable.
And if he's feeling, you know, too virtuous, he's got corrupting pots to drink to make him feel evil and do a little bit of extra burn damage. Or if he's just thirsty, you know.
Exactly right.
He's got the whole kit.
And now, LM's not going to be able to heal with that passive as well if he decides to engage. Obviously, Merlinomicon not exactly the most valuable against Quantum FREECS' comp, but, you know, we're in the LCK. We've stopped molding about this because it's just one of those things that we've had to accept.
Actually, going into the Rileys here.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think we were going to see it change too much of how the LCK is played, but that's...
I have actually always, like, my favorite item combo in the game has always been Rileys Liandry's. And we just haven't really been seeing it, right? Because Rileys beforehand was just so difficult to build. And now might be able to see a little bit more value. And it means that these Sand Soldiers are going to be so deadly. They can really start locking you down. The burn damage is higher and also provides that little bit of CC to try and set up these swoop and scoops. I really like it.
I think it's pretty good for, you know, not only the Azir specifically, but also into this comp where you have the tank Rise on the other side too. You can just make it so that he can't do much and can't actually close the gap. Isn't going to be able to peel very well. Now, going back to what I was talking about and said I was going to be a broken record for, is the side laning here for Kwangdong FREECS hasn't come together yet. They're just grouping up as 4 and trying to control Baron temporarily here, making plays like this as Peanut can. The cool thing about this is, like, if you look at the map, Peanut's like, 1v4, I'm actually cool. Like, I have Hex Flash. If I have to flash, I'm fine. So where are Kwangdong on the map? They grouped up as 4 around Baron. And then they're going top here and don't save the turret.
Yep.
And then Gwen is side laning better on the bottom side. So, like, these are the glaring issues of Kwangdong FREECS' map play right now that I think are getting exposed quite a bit in this early part of spring.
I find it really interesting, right? Because Chovy built the Oblivion Orb, whereas I think that Kwangdong FREECS really need to try and focus on whoever they've got in the side lane has the ability to stop Gwen from being able to just perpetually shove, which she should be able to do as the game goes on, right? With that Rift Maker now online and the Needlework being, pretty good healing tool, as it turns out.
And it doesn't look like Keen is interested in building it anytime soon because he's going into Force of Nature next, so...
Yep, and this is what, you know, the Rides likes to build at the moment.
Yeah.
But it really does... Build. Yeah, it feels standard, but it also feels very cookie cutter and not something that has a lot of wiggle room with. And I think having variance in item build is important, and being able to adjust to the situation effectively is definitely good. As Super Mega Death Rocket, that was odd.
Yeah. It's something
Peanut's like, that's my Blade Whirl. I pressed my Blade Whirl button. What happened?
I recommend also, you know, even for those at home who, if you know the game well enough and you know the items pretty well, like, just don't use the recommended item thing. Actually use all items and actually start thinking about what you're building more. You'll actually find, at least for me, it really helps me, like, think about what I specifically need for every scenario, because it's not always what the game tells you. It's not always what your standard build is. Sometimes you need to change it up, as Chovy did in this particular case, and it's going to make a really nice impact on how your team plays out the game. You can do a lot. You can actually win against your opponents by buying items, like, very easily. Small things.
Yep. Well, a little bit of a stun here as Doran slinks into the mist. Flame Chompers go down, and that is going to break off this fight potentially, but Lahen's able to walk past it. Peanut lying in wait off to the back of the pit. So, Soul Point available for GENG. They want to be able to take this one down if they can. Fate moving on in, on Vision though.
Yeah.
Stun onto Ellen to try and deny his movement. These Sand Soldiers, pretty frustrating as there's some Demacian justice being dealt out, but isn't going to find anyone. But now over the wall goes Doran, and look at the needlework damage into the back line. Rule is able to get in there as well, and it is a bloodbath. And yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get out of that one, Keen. I am sorry, Lahen's has so much CC, and it is just over. Peanut still slinking by, looking for Teddy, looking for his opportunities, and knows exactly where he is going. Doran's going to finish off Hoyt. There is absolutely no way out for him. And yeah, I don't know whether Peanut wins this battle, however, is going to be able to survive, and Chovy says goodbye to Teddy. It's a solo kill in the end. The Drake is taken as well at Soul Point, and GENG should be able to move over to the Baron.
Yeah, Chovy, Peanut, man, such a great, fantastic pairing to watch so far here in the LCK so far in this 5th match here for GENG, just in the end of that. Well, the biggest issue in this team fight was, again, even on their side of the rift, they have no vision on Doran. No wards, no one's over the wall here, nobody has any idea. Where do they think he is what I'm wondering, because they're all grouped up here as 5. And to be fair, Kwangdong don't have a similar champion who can actually stop Gwen from positioning. You can't just put Ryze there and tell him, like, oh, you can't walk in, I'm actually tracking you. You know, a lot of the time you have, like, a Camille in this lane or a Gragas who can kind of help, you know, block out a Gwen. But they have no vision whatsoever as where this Gwen is. And he's just like, I'm over the wall, there's Blast Cone here.
The needlework was just insane.
And you've got to be tracking the Gwen if you're going to step forward like that, you know. Again, like, my question is, where did they think he was? Just, I think, a little bit of tunnel vision because there isn't great shot calling communication in this roster yet. I feel so bad because I think we know the potential for this roster to 5-man team fight. Like, if you think of all 5 players on this, Hoyt, maybe, you know, he's getting there. 4 of these 5 players, you know how good they are on paper. They just can't tie the last few knots to really complete the package. And these small moments, I mean, yes, GENG has a pretty big lead, but
yeah,
you gotta have vision on your side of the jungle at least.
I mean, this lead has just blossomed out of that last fight, right? Before that, it was like 1.5k, which is negligible. Yes, Chovy was ahead, but now Doran is like absolutely gigantic. And this game, honestly, is probably over after that fight, right? Like a 5-0 ace into Baron, like that is a game-winning play. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that Doran was able to get into that backline, really eliminate those health bars. And it felt like Kwangdong FREECS panicked, right? Like immediately Hoyt's like, I'm over the wall, I'm throwing out a lantern so people can escape, and no one could get away. As GENG will break down the mid lane inhibitor turret, grab this inhibitor as well. And I find it so interesting watching GENG, right? Because this is a game about Doran carrying. We've seen other games where Chovy was carrying. We've seen games where it was Ruler. We've seen even games where it was Peanut able to get the work done. And now it's like this game is being played largely around Doran being able to get in there and make it happen, especially when it came to that last team fight.
Yeah, I mean, Kwangdong, there's a lot to improve on here. It was a decent start to this game. I thought the draft was fantastic, you know, for what this meta is. It doesn't get more stock standard than this, but one last attempt.
Yeah, once more into the breach as Elm's going to try and get some knockbacks here, but he's immediately just going to die. Chovy picks up that kill. And yeah, these wallets are pretty dang heavy as, yeah, Fate's going to take a lantern, but unfortunately the Nexus turret doesn't have the option to do so. Hoyt also now going to be in trouble as Doran goes gold. And Chovy's just going to flash to pick up one last kill here at the end. Lens, he may die, but the Nexus is going to follow suit, and that's the most important 50 gold in the game. GENG, one fight to rule them all, will take game 1.
Such an incredible outplay in terms of the jungle early on in this game. Peanut really controlling LM.